plaster walls were originally painted with cellulose based paint using a spray gun. They were painted initially a off-white colour. They were then speckled with a light grey, a dark grey, a brown, a green, like a real dark earthy green. These were all very light speckles, and then it was speckled again with the off-white colour to bring it back to the white. I then, in some of the areas, I then worked the bottoms with a green airbrush, although that was very subtle. So if I just zoom in, you get a better look at the sort of effect that I've got there. It's quite subtle, but it just stops the walls having that sort of flat white look. And what I'm going to do now is work into that with some different shades to weather it. Okay, so I've got my Thraka green. Just going to work it into the bottom there, bit up the sides, and then just sort of feather it and use the finger blend, which is probably the best way to blend on a model like this. Also incredibly quick. See here there's a bit of kind of mottled damage to the plasterwork on the wall there. You can see the timbers underneath, the horizontal timbers through with the kind of newer, cleaner plaster in the grooves of the timbers. I will make those stand out a bit more later on. So just carry on with working the Thraka green into the lower extremities. Of the walls. Just with this, there's no exact way of doing it, it's just where you think moisture would build up and pool, and then which would create obviously moss to grow. This can be done fairly quickly, although there is a lot to do because there's obviously a large amount of whitewashed walls to work on. Okay, just put a little bit more in here. Just work that up a bit. Okay, what I'm going to do is just spin that around so I can now work just a very small amount into the tops. This is where you get a little bit of moss forming from the moisture dripping down onto it from the timbers. So just okay, so what I'm going to do now is just work a little bit more into the bottoms. Well, that's dried a little bit, and that's going to allow me to build up the depth of the colour just into the very bottom. give me a natural blend. And again, there's no technique to doing this, it's just sort of random, sort of messiness. Okay. Now I've got some Devil and Mud, and I'm just going to work this in to the very edges, but then kind of tease it down to give the impression that the whitewash has been stained by moisture dripping down. This will add a bit of depth to the Thraka green wash as well. I want to be quite sparing with that. You don't want it to dominate the effect. So that's it dripping down. And we'll go for a similar effect from the bottom, rising up. See, that green now is just getting a bit more earthier. Just giving a little bit more depth of colour. Okay, so that's just made those walls look a bit dirtier. I'll lift it up a bit so you can. There we go. Just appreciate what that adds to it. Now the weathering is complete with the Thraka green and the Devon and Mud washes. You can just about make out the streakiness of it. What I need to do now with regards to the walls is you see here is an area where the plaster has come off. I need to define that a bit more, and I'll just use a pencil. It's already been scored in, so I'm just going to use a pencil to help define the edge of that. No, that's not necessarily absolutely realistic. It's a bit of an artistic license here, but kind of like to think that the edge of that plaster is mildewed, soaking up the moisture, which is why it's turned that black colour, and then it, you know, kind of drops off. When I'm doing that, I can also add some cracks. Just some irregular lines. Okay, there's another one here. Just put another crack in here. Okay.